Shipston-on-Stour and sheep go back a long way.
And they used to drive the sheep through the river. They used to put like hurdles in the river to stop them swimming off up and down to wash them. So Shipston used to be called Sheep Wash Town.
Or Shep-wash-toon in Saxon time.
Oh, yeah!
Today, Shipston once again celebrates its links with sheep, wool and weaving.
Greetings to Shipston-on-Stour on the occasion of the 6th annual Wool Fair.
The high street is full of penned sheep. There are stalls and bands and the unveiling of a remarkable piece of community tapestry, of which more later. Fairs in Shipston are of long standing too. Dick Burge is one of the founders and curators of Shipston's History Society Museum.
Henry III granted a charter for a weekly market and an annual fair. That was in 1268.
The Wool Fair, in a way, is carrying on that tradition, I suppose.
Well, it is. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Once upon a time, Shipston's ford over the River Stour put it on the map. Mike Ashley co-curates the town's museum, which he and Dick have built up over the last 40-plus years.
It was how you got across the river. There are other places, both upstream and downstream, where you can get across the river, but this was a convenient spot, going up to Briles Road and beyond, and of course across to Evesham. It was just a ford. We've got photographs of, even though the bridge had been built, cattle actually crossing it via the ford. And that's where the sheep were washed. More of a quick clean rather than a sort of bath.
There's no longer a livestock market in the town, but commerce is still part of a modern-day fair. Deborah Williams from Armscote Manor, just up the road, has brought some of her Portlands and a few Black Welsh mountain sheep. The sheep aren't for sale, but their produce is.
We've started producing our own wool, a double knit, and we have Portland, pure Portland with a dash of Black Welsh mountain sheep and a splash of Black Welsh mountain sheep.
So these colours that you've got in front of me, the greyer ones, have some of the Black Welsh in them?
They do. They're all from our wool. They're undyed and they're blended, which I think gives them a particularly special look. And it's proved very popular with knitters locally. It knits well.
There are 20 different types of rare breed sheep on show at the fair. They're no longer commercial because sheep are bred for meat nowadays and not the quality of their wool. They're survival rests with smallholders and enthusiasts dedicated to keeping them going. Deborah's little Portlands are particularly rare.
They are considered to be the oldest breed in England. They were actually mentioned in the Domesday Book. They originate from the Isle of Portland on the south coast. They live on salt marshes, scrubby land, rocky land. And one of the advantages of a Portland sheep is it can survive on an area land with much less grass than any commercial sheep needs. And also their fleece has a high oil content. And it was used originally for making fishermen's sweaters because the oil obviously repelled the water. The ewes and the rams have horns. I personally find as a female breeder that quite useful because I can handle them and flip them over if I need to clean their hooves out.
You've got something to hang on to.
That's right, because a sheep can be quite slippery otherwise.
Normally when you're shearing with the electric clippers, we're talking around about doing 30 an hour. So that's 1 every 2 minutes. With these, we're probably talking about doing 5 an hour.
One key part of the whole business is shearing, usually done in May and June, and nowadays with electric clippers. Alan Scorer, who's lived in the area all his life, shows a fascinated crowd how it used to be done with hand clippers.
Years ago they'd have had big gangs of sheep shearers. They would have gone from farm to farm with the blades and they would have sheared the sheep. Certainly in the Cotswolds, the wool trade was very important.
And what about washing the sheep in the river?
When talking to old farmers and the local old boys around, they were used to taking their sheep down to the local river to be flushed and washed before shearing to get all the impurities out. However, modern day shearing, I like the heat, because the heat will bring the lanolin, the oil in the fleece, which will make it easier for us to shear. It makes it a cleaner cut.
So just coming down to that last little bit. And there we go. As you can see, it's just left a little bit of a covering on.
from medieval all up to the Industrial Revolution, wool and cloth was an important part of the British economy. Farmers have, through selective breeding, bred sheep to have better wool, and one of those breeds being the Cotswold sheep, which has very good long, what we call a staple, the length of the wool, which was an important part of the wool industry.
From which it earned its nickname, the Cotswold Lion. Shipston's neighbouring hamlet of Barcheston has a celebrated history of tapestry weaving. The Queen, Elizabeth I's arras maker, was given use of the manor house rent-free to make tapestries and textiles. One beautiful tapestry that survives from that time, now in Warwick Museum, provided the inspiration for the Shipston tapestry, which was started in 2012 to celebrate Elizabeth II's Jubilee.
We started it just before the Wool Fair in 2012.
It was designed by Ros Lobb of the Stratford-upon-Avon Guild of Weavers, Spinners and Dyers.
Because the Barcheston tapestries, the four that are well known, or the one that's very well known, is the one of the Warwickshire, which is the map. We thought, well, we won't try to do a map, but it is actually sort of a view of the town.
So there's the River Stour, and this is the bridge. So there's the church. This was the workhouse. It's now been turned into flats. One of my friends actually lives in there now. This is the beacon, you see, the beacon for the Queen's Jubilee, which is the whole point of the thing.
This looks really difficult, weaving in all the...
I didn't have any part of weaving in those. I did some of this, and I did a field here. That's my
field. It's nice because we've met several people who were involved in the beginning part this morning, which we haven't met before because we've been involved at a later stage.
Of course, at first, I think we took back more than we put in, because we put it in and then went, no, that's wrong. Pulled it out again, put it in again, no,
it's
still not right.
Tight, you know. So,
but towards the end, after we've been doing it for like several times, you know, we kind of got into the swing of it, and we got on pretty quick then, didn't we, when we knew what we were doing.
It's beautiful. Do you know how many people were involved in the end?
They say about 200, but I don't know. I don't know whether that is true.
But there is a book, isn't there?
Yes.
Where everyone who took part signed their name.
Very many congratulations. It looks absolutely fantastic. Where is it going to go now?
It's going to be a pop-up exhibition which will appear in various places and will be moved around.
In the 19th century, Shipston's weavers produced plush and shag, a sort of velvet, but that died out as the mechanisation of the textile industry developed far from the Cotswolds. But there are more clues to Shipston's tradition of wool production at the museum run by Mike and Dick, a treasure trove of local memories.
The shears actually belonged to my grandfather.
It's a pretty tough job in those days.
It was a tough job. Things didn't get thrown away. That crook has been repaired. You can see the wells in it there. And that belonged to George Field of Brailes.
It was to go around the leg.
That's right. When a sheep was running away, of course you
just get around the leg, the upper leg, well, if you're lucky, and you stop the thing in its tracks, so to speak, yeah.
One thing, of course, we didn't mention was the tar spoon. Occasionally, the poor sheep got clipped, and to effectively seal the wound quick, they applied hot tar with the spoon. It couldn't have been very pleasant for the sheep, but it worked.
There's one other artefact that you've got in this. I noticed you've got it locked away behind glass.
Yes.
Talk me through this one.
Well, that's a castrating tool. They did different sizes for different animals. This particular one is for sheep.
I imagine that the youngsters who come in are rather impressed by some of these gruesome tools you have.
Yes, well, my colleague's got a notice on which says, do please ask the curator if they want to know anything. You can guess what they all want to know.
Ouch. Amongst the breeds on show at the Wool Fair, Barry Evans, a first-time exhibitor, brought his prize-winning Black Leicester Longwools, a curly-fleeced breed that, thanks to the 18th century sheep breeder Robert Bakewell, used to be one of the most common sheep in the country.
Originally, Bakewell bred the Leicester Longwool for being white, so any black lambs were culled at birth, and that's where the black sheep of the family comes.
Sonia Glover from Upton in Leicestershire has pure white Leicester Longwools and some of the cutest lambs on show. Now you've got 4 lambs over there, I think.
Yes. This ewe was scanned for triplets this year, and she surprised us by popping out a 4th one. And we're very lucky that they're all doing really well. Because
that's unusual, isn't it, 4?
It is, yes. We've never had quads before. We've had triplets once, but never 4. So this is why we brought them to the wool fair today. And we really daredn't tell anybody we were bringing them until we knew that they were all going to be fit and well and available for their first public appearance at the wool fair.
Oh, this is their first public appearance.
Yes.
They're doing very well.
They are.